As you can see, I'm on one of the most stunning tennis courts in the world. I'm in Monaco and I've spent the day at the Monte Carlo Masters. And I thought that you guys might like to see what it was like. So let's rewind back 24 hours and come along with me. Let's go. So whilst we're traveling, let me explain how this trip came about. The Monte Carlo Masters is an iconic ATP 1000 event, as it's set in the beautiful scenes of Monaco. Now, this tournament is nearly 120 years old, so is really historic, and it's a tournament that I've always wanted to go to. And coincidentally, it was only a few weeks ago that I actually stated this on an Instagram Q&A. Somebody asked, what is the tournament that I haven't been to that I'd love to? And I said two. I said Indian Wells and the Monte Carlo Masters. And just by chance, a week or so later, I had a message directly from TECNFIBRE over on Instagram, inviting me on an activation at this event, which was pretty spooky, but of course, I said yes. After a very long day of travel and 5 hours of flight delays, I arrived in Nice at around 2:30 in the morning. I took a taxi to the hotel and got about 3.5 hours of sleep. After a quick breakfast at the hotel at 6:30, we walked over to the train station, which was about 5 minutes away, and hopped on a 30-minute train to Monaco. Now, this train journey is right along the coast and it is stunning. So if you're ever thinking about going to the Monte Carlo Masters, staying in Nice can be a good idea, as it's not too far away from Monaco, it's a little bit cheaper, and it's much closer to the airport. We arrived in Monaco, took a quick 5-minute walk to the Players Hotel to pick up our taxi. Well, when I say taxi, I mean Maserati. Welcome to Monaco. On this TECNFIBRE trip with me was my friend Dylan from Tennis with Dylan and Max from Tennis Legend, as well as our host from TECNFIBRE, Jerome. A member of staff showed us into the Monte Carlo Country Club at 8:45. This was a while before the ticket holders were allowed entry, as we had actually got a chance to play tennis on one of the practice courts. So we headed straight to the locker rooms to get changed. Now, as you can see, these changing rooms are pretty old-fashioned. They have remained the same as they were when they were built over 100 years ago and were as beautiful as the rest of the club. We were given a smart TECNFIBRE duffel bag with a full tennis kit, including the new Medvedev Lacoste shoes. They were pretty funky and super comfortable, so let me know if you'd like a review of them. Once we were changed, we were escorted to one of the practice courts, and just look at how stunning it was. So right now, I've got 1 hour on this amazing court at the Monte Carlo Masters, and I'm going to be testing out some of TECNFIBRE's new rackets. During the first few minutes of our hit, we were getting used to the conditions. It sounds funny, but the court was one of the hardest clay courts I'd ever played on. In fact, later on, you can actually hear our footwork squeaking like it does on a hard court. It played super quickly for a clay court, and as it was pretty warm in Monaco, the balls bounced high, so it wasn't easy for the first few minutes, but luckily there were no spectators at the club yet. During this hit, I tried 4 different TECNFIBRE frames: the T-Fight 315, the TFX1, the Iga Swiatek signature racket, the Tempo 298, and Medvedev's T-Fight 305. That racket was strung with TECNFIBRE's brand new Razor soft string, and all of the others were strung with TECNFIBRE's Razor code. I won't review the rackets in this video as it's already pretty long, but if you have any questions about the rackets or you'd like me to make a review of them, let me know in the comments below. We finished our hour with the Djokovic game. At this point, the spectators started to arrive. I just hope they weren't too disappointed when they saw us. They seemed to enjoy it. To be quite honest, this hour went far too quickly, and I don't think I really took it all in. But looking back at the footage, it has to be the most spectacular looking tennis court I've ever played on. Let me know if you've ever played on a more beautiful court. At this point, we had a few pictures and then headed to shower and change before meeting with the TECNFIBRE stringing team. At this point in the day, they were still mega busy as they were preparing rackets for the quarterfinalists. Here you can see Stefan, who is possibly one of the world's quickest stringers. And here you can see Dimitri, who was busy stringing Medvedev's racket ready for his quarterfinals. He has his racket strung with Razor soft strings. At this point in the day, we had a little bit of time to watch some practice back on the practice courts that we came from. Tsitsipas was hitting with his brother Petros, whilst his brother Pavlos, who I met last week, was watching as well. Lorenzo Musetti was hitting, and he hits the ball so cleanly. We also saw a couple of other players that weren't in the tournament anymore. We saw Ubi Herkax and we saw Bublik, as well as Felix Auger-Aliassime in passing. Apparently, lots of the world's top players have apartments in Monaco, as the weather there is pretty incredible all year round, and who wouldn't want to train on these courts? Next up, it was time to head to Centre Court, known as Court Rainier III. Because it was quarterfinals day, we were super lucky to be able to watch 4 quarterfinals all on one court. In my opinion, quarterfinals day of a week-long event is one of the best days of the week to go, as you get 4 incredibly high-level matches all on one court. The first match we watched was Rublev versus Struff. Now, Rublev strikes the ball so well, but his matches are such a roller coaster. After cruising the first set 6-1, it was the second game in the second set where this happened. He ended up winning 7-6 in the end, but I can't help to think that if his emotions were less of a roller coaster, his results would be too. After this match was finished, we headed to lunch in the amazing poolside restaurant called La Open. Straight after lunch, we were really lucky to be taken on a behind-the-scenes tour of the club. Most of it we weren't able to film, as there were lots of professional tennis players roaming around, and this is their downtime. However, we saw the media rooms, we saw the interview room, where we actually got to stay and watch Andrei Rublev's post-match interview. Now, I can't help to love this guy. He's got such a great personality off of the court, really friendly and really humble. We also took the route that the players go to and from the show court, which also included the interview backdrop, where Max and I couldn't resist to do our own interview. Unfortunately, the lunch break and the tour meant that we missed Tsitsipas' play against Fritz, but it was such an amazing tour, it was worthwhile. We then headed back onto the court to watch the final 2 matches. The first was Medvedev versus Rune. Now, these two practice together a lot at the Moratoglu Tennis Academy and usually have some really good battles. But today, Rune was just on fire. He played super aggressively, really keeping Medvedev under pressure, and mixed in drop shots now and again, which for Medvedev's position way behind the baseline was really tough to defend. To be honest, Rune's tennis was really impressive to watch. The final match was an Italian battle between Lorenzo Musetti and Jannik Sinner. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Musetti is such a clean ball striker and a very stylish player. When the ball is in his comfort zone, he has so many options, but Jannik Sinner rarely put it in his comfort zone. Sinner had answers to all of Musetti's shots. He was all over the court and able to hit winners from the most stretched positions you've seen. I would say that towards the end, Musetti started to use the drop shot more effectively, and this was one tactic that Sinner really struggled with. If there's one gap in Sinner's game, I would say that it's his skills around the net. If your drop shot isn't good enough, he'll put it away. But if you can get him into the net in an uncomfortable position, this is possibly one of the only areas in Sinner's game that Musetti could break down. So that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching the video all the way through. If you liked it, hit that thumbs up button and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'll see you next time.